Thank you, Reverend Francis. Well, a husband and wife were just woke up in the morning, and the wife was kind of happy. She turned to her husband in bed and said, "You know what? I just had a dream that you gave me a beautiful pearl necklace because I'm such a wonderful wife and I've been so devoted and love you so much." And he said to his wife, or she said, "Well, what do you think that means?" And he said, "You'll know this evening." And so he went to work, came back that night, and handed her a small package. And she was, of course, after that conversation in the morning, she was real excited, and she opened it, and after she got it open, it was a book that said, "What Dreams Mean." Now, today's a special day, and I wanted to point out Russell, because it's such a special day. I knew that a lot of people wouldn't like that joke, so I got you another one. And seeing how I'm an equal opportunity maker matter,
I hope not.
I want to tell you this one real quick. And it's about a woman that went into the post office. And you know how the post office is nice enough to have those little counters where you can do a little bit of work. And she noticed this well-dressed, middle-aged man putting little hearts in a red envelope, and then spraying it with perfume. And so she curiosity got the better of her, and so she went over there and said, "Well, excuse me, sir, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm signing 1,000 letters, guess who, and sending them out." And she said, "Oh yeah, I still don't know, why are you doing that?" And he said, "I'm a divorce lawyer."
Thanks for that.
Yeah, well, he put his card in. Okay, let's move on. Let's say our statements of truth together. I am a child of God. I am deserving of good in my life. I am accepting my good now. I guess I'm old because what is it on the Tonight Show? It's the third or fourth edition, and I always think when the jokes don't go over well with Johnny Carson. So that's worse. I think everybody in here, except a few, will remember Johnny Carson. He was the King Yahoo. Don't even act like that. Well, this week we celebrate Thanksgiving, and on Thursday, of course, with a variety of good food. In fact, a little bit later, and not too much long, we're going to go next door and have a lot of good food, a variety that each one of us have brought, plus, of course, the turkey and ham that the church has provided. Please remember that whether you have enough, or whether you remember to bring something or not, stay, because we've got plenty over there. I can already tell that we are overflowing, and there's a lot of people working over there already to get the food ready. So please stay and join us in fellowship. There's going to be plenty of food. But believe it or not, if you've heard me speak before, you know that you think that this being Thanksgiving, this being a lesson on Thanksgiving, that I'd be talking about food, but I'm not going to talk about food today. I'm going to enjoy it in it a little bit, but that's not going to be what this lesson is about. Thanksgiving, of course, is much more about things than just the food that we eat on a specific day. It's more than about the family and friends that we may get together with on that day, and it's more about more than about the time that most of us get off, unless you're in retail, on that day. Thanksgiving is about an attitude, though, that we choose to have in our life. Thanksgiving is about how we look at life and how we live life. Thanksgiving is a spiritual awareness of the truth of who you are. You cannot have a full relationship and a full understanding of the relationship that you have with God without being thankful. And when you think about it, there really are very few words in the English language that we use on a regular basis that is as important as Thanksgiving. When a lot of people think about Thanksgiving, they think that about the holiday, which we're coming up on, or they think about being thankful for all the things that they have, which either one is fine, yet there is a deeper meaning we all know about Thanksgiving that sometimes we forget. And that meaning is being thankful for being able to give. That's really where the word came from, if you think about it. And we all have something to give, whether we realize it in this moment or not. I don't know how many of y'all, I'm sure a lot of you have been through the class, the 4 T's. It's a popular class that has helped millions of people over its existence. Learn more about the gifts that each of us have and that we can be giving in our lives. The 4 T's are, and if you remember them, you can think of them in your own mind. The 3 easy ones that everybody remembers is time, talent, and treasure. And the 4th one that really is the most important, a lot of people forget, and that is thought. Time, talent, treasure, thought. 4. Each of us have these and possess the ability to share and give these in a daily living. In fact, when we do share these, we will begin to see more of the heaven that they describe in the Bible here on earth in our own lives. You know, it's interesting. I have heard many things. One of them I'm used to, or I was familiar with. A couple others I haven't. And in fact, it's hit me a couple times during this week, so I know whenever that happens, I need to pay attention and probably bring it up on Sunday. And the thing is that I've heard this week the 3-year curse, and this morning I heard what was it called? The generational curse. And those 2 I wasn't familiar with. And the one that I've heard before is everything happens in 3s. A lot of people have heard that one. Everything happens in 3s. Well, this isn't true. Because listen, when do we hear, at least my experience has been, whenever I hear everything happens in 3s, it's usually talking about somebody dying or some negative event. I mean, what the heck? Really? When we have something good, do we think everything happens in 3s? I really never heard, I don't think, anybody come up to me and say, I just won the lottery. Everything happens in 3s. I'm going to get it twice more. Do you see how that can make a difference in your life? I mean, come on. Everything happens in 3s, but only in the negative sense. Well, that's not true. And neither is this 3-year curse or this generational curse that I heard this morning. Sometimes we get stuck when we're considering giving of ourselves or of something that we may possess. Usually that stuckness is from looking at what we have and thinking that there is only a limited amount of it. Whatever we're talking about, money, whatever, whether we're talking about a car, whatever we're talking about. This thought of lack, though, as we've discussed before, is a false belief. And it is in times like these when we need to be able to go to Spirit, when we're seeing false or thinking of false or lack in our life, thinking that false belief, we need to go to Spirit and recognize that lack does not exist. And there is more than enough for me, for you, for everyone. There always has been, there always will be. The false thought of lack can be compared with the false thought of evil. Neither one of them truly exist because if we quit giving our thought power to them, then they disappear in our own life. That's not to say that there's lack or there's not evil exhibited in the world. People that give their thought power to that, give credence to that, may exhibit those types of behaviors and things happen to them. Everything happens in 3s in a negative sense. Well, you're going to notice 2 more things if the first one started on you. The 2 more negative things happen in your life. But also the reverse would happen. If you said everything happens in 3s in a positive sense, then you will see 3 positive things in your life. So it's up to us what we decide to look at and what we decide to focus on. Think of our economy for a moment. Our economy is up and down, recessions, economists are always talking about it. When we're in a recession or a downturn of any kind, economists will tell us that we are lacking in some area. Either it's jobs or money or some other category that the economists have come up with. They say we're lacking in that area. When what is true, really, and the economists would be the first to admit this if you point this out to them, is what is happening is not a lack of something. It's what is happening is a circulation has stopped in those areas. The flow has stopped in those areas. And so that obviously would create a slowdown. If I think, just like my example a minute ago, if I think a couple more bad things are going to happen to me or happen in my life, whatever, then I'm going to notice a couple more bad things. But that was because I started that flow. You see that?
Yes.
And it can happen on the other side too. And that's the difference between a spiritual thought, a spiritual lesson that God taught us about the good things happening in our life, and some stuff that we've learned along the way, thinking there's lack in our personality that we've learned that isn't true, that doesn't happen unless we give it credence. People have stopped giving sometimes of themselves. I've heard, and I'm sure that you've heard, many stories of the people who are confronted with seeming lack in their life, continuing to give of one of their 4 T's, and all of a sudden they seem to fall into something, some type of windfall, and what was previously seeming to be of lack. These are the people who have not forgotten the most important T in the 4 T's, which is what? Thought. Thank you. I want you to remember that for sure. Thought. Thought is the most important. So if we go along with something negative, I mean, any one of us in this room, no matter how old you are, I mean, I don't care if you have, it just, with very little living, you know that there's things that have happened in your life that you probably wouldn't have liked to go through. It just happens. And that isn't to say that it's a negative thing or well, it is for us to classify. So if we decide, you know, well, that's a negative thing, especially if you go with that 3 thing, I'm going to have a couple more negative things happen to me. Let's not go there. But, you know, you can look at it and say what it was in your life. That doesn't mean you have to go through it again. What it means is that you're going to look at it different, though. You're going to label it differently. And you can think of world leaders or whoever you want to think of that a lot of good things have happened to. Well, that doesn't mean that nothing of a downturn has ever happened to them. They have decided not to focus on that, though, and focus on continuing knowing the thought that that something good is going to happen. You know, we had a saying in Unity many years ago, and it's still around, I think, but not too many people use it anymore. And it's called "Expect a Miracle." And "Expect a Miracle" was exactly what it says. Expect a miracle. So you know that good things are going to happen. But well, some people, not that many, some people criticized it and said, "What do you mean expect a miracle?" In fact, in Wichita, I had a band. I think he's the saxophonist. I really like his music. Anyway, he came up after I gave a lesson on expect a miracle, and he said, "Do you really believe that?" I said, "Yeah, I do believe that." And he said, "I don't believe that at all." I said, "You can't expect a miracle." And I said, "Well, what do you declare as a miracle? What do you say is a miracle?" And it made him stop and think, because there's a lot of things that have happened in our lives that generations before us that are commonplace now that generations before us would say were miracles, except that we have grown to a point spiritually and physically to a point where we don't see them as miracles anymore. We just think of them as commonplace. Well, even if we look at the world right now and look at the way other people live and things and the way we live, I bet you they would say that we live in a miracle world. So expect a miracle. Know that the truth is going to happen for you, and the truth is good. The truth is God, and the truth is always good. Well, I can see how you might say this, thinking about this whole thing, this practice is the most important for oneself and for the race consciousness. I can see that you might say, well, I can see how positive thoughts can help you in your own life and circumstance, but how do you give thoughts? And that's easy. We give thoughts by thinking and seeing truth in others. We just had a prayer box go around, and that we prayed for people. But when we do that, and we've gone over this many times before also, is that we're not praying seeing them in lack. We're not praying seeing them as unhealthy, if it's a health prayer. We're seeing them healthy, whole, and perfect. That's what our job is. That's the best gift we can give them right then, is seeing them in the truth. Because their spiritual body has no problems at all. It's fully healthy. So you're not lying to yourself. You're not lying to them. You're seeing their spiritual body help their physical body. And that's what's helping your physical body all along anyway, but helping your physical body heal. When someone is feeling less than 100%, we as truth students need to see that picture of truth for them. We need to focus on that and not any perceived diagnosis that someone has given them. When someone is out of a job, we need to picture them working in the perfect job that they enjoy and people appreciating their efforts. When we encounter someone who is working all the time and has no time to spend with their family, we picture them at peace and knowing new ways to be efficient in their time and spend with their families. Our thoughts of someone else are not only important for the betterment of them, but also bring us in alignment with the truth of ourselves in a universe that is set up for our success. I hope this gives us a better understanding of how important our thinking is. Now, I'm not saying that we can just think things into manifestation, but thinking gives us the ability to demonstrate in our life. Now, sometimes we just, we're kind of kicked with the cosmic 2x4, and, like the story I was telling you earlier about the property, about Ken calling me again. I really, and he could tell when I went over there about that, I really didn't care to go over there and look at that property again. But I also knew that when Spirit's telling me something, that I need to pay attention and follow through, or I'm missing out on blessings. So I went over there. And Ken was all excited, and of course, excitement grows when you're around somebody, so that is excited. So we got excited about it, did our homework, and we made the offer, and we now have that land that we're going to close on. So we need to be aware of not only the thoughts that we're thinking of others, but see how that plays out in our life also. We're all aware, of course, of the commercialization that Thanksgiving and many holidays have had. But all the holidays were originally, if you'll remember, just think about it for a minute, were a spiritual acknowledgement. The beginning of Thanksgiving between the early settlers and the Native Americans was a gathering to share gifts with each other and celebrate that they survived another year in a new, unknown world. Back then, of course, wherever you want to say that they landed, and wherever, which were a little bit in dispute, but not that much. So say if you choose Plymouth Rock, that place for the people landing there was not known. The Native Americans knew the way, and they helped them. They showed them the way. It's like us going to another city that we're not familiar with and picking up a map. Other people have been there and have given us, have let us have a map of how to get around, which is very helpful. That's them thinking of giving of themselves and doing so in their lives. Giving on a survival level has gone on as long as humanity has existed. Now is the time that we have to, though, to give on a spiritual level. All of man's laws are superseded by spiritual law. So we're in a unknown city, and we have a map, and we're trying to go somewhere. And we're following the map with the GPS, and I don't know about you, but I had a GPS that was in the early days of GPSs, and they weren't as accurate as now. I was in Wichita, and I was going, I don't want to tell you where I was going, but I'll tell you. I was going to a casino in Kansas City. And so it was, back then the casinos had to be on the river, and it was on the Missouri River. And so this GPS I had was taking me there, and I went, and I was going, it seemed like the right way, because I was staying on highways. GPS is keeping on highways usually. But then it started turning me into this residential area. And I went down this residential area, and I was very fortunate that it was during daylight. And so as I kept getting deeper and deeper in this residential area where it was guiding me, there seemed to be more and more pedestrian traffic. And so I was wondering, this just doesn't look right, because I know that the Missouri River is a big river. It's not no small river, so I really didn't feel like I was close to it, because I know they didn't have houses right next to the river. So I ended up turning around, and when I got to the casino, I asked somebody, I wrote down where I was at, and asked somebody, and he started laughing and said, "You were very fortunate to get out of there, because that was one of the heaviest drug trafficking neighborhoods in the city." And so, thus the more pedestrian traffic, I guess we thought I was going to buy something. But Anyway, you have to listen, though, to things other than just what we have written down, like man's laws as far as the map or anything like that. We have to listen to common sense, too. And common sense usually comes from a spiritual understanding. So, it's time for us, though, to live to that higher law of spiritual understanding. And what a better time than Thanksgiving. To recognize spirit in the universe. There's a prayer that I love that I've known since a child, and it's always been one of my favorites, and I think that it would be helpful for anybody on spiritual growth. It's not a new prayer, of course, because I'm not new, I guess. And I'm sure most of you have heard it before, but many of you might, and some of you might know it by heart. But I want all of us to learn it by heart and to know it, because it is very helpful at any time of life. And it's the prayer of faith. And Francis is going to put on the PowerPoint, and I'd like us all to say it together, please. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment, night and day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do and be, through Christ the truth that lives in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. Yes, amen. This prayer can be used anytime as a reminder that we are not alone in this process that we call life, because life did not begin here, and life does not end here. The journey of life is something that we can be thankful for and to live a full life. With all the blessings that we have here in front of us, and all the blessings that are waiting for us to claim, the only question is, are we ready to claim our blessings? If we are, then giving thanks and being able to give, and for being able to give, and then giving of those gifts of ourselves opens us up for those blessings. This church has been on a path of learning more and more about the spiritual gifts that each one of us possess, and how we can share those gifts with each other in the community. Now with this taking of the next step of our growth of purchasing land for our future building site, we can grow in size, and we are opening up ourselves to learn more about our gifts and allowing ourselves to be able to grow more to give from a thankful heart. So in this time, let's get our feast on in a spiritual sense and demonstrate we know what Thanksgiving spiritually means, to be thankful that we are able to give. God is blessing you now. Amen.